Hi, welcome to episode 290 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffyk on Ravelry, Fluffykira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at the corner of knitandtea.com, and that's where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop called the Corner of Knit and Tea, where I sell my patterns and my handspun yarns, and we have a Ravelry group also called the Corner of Knit and Tea. Hi, how are you? It is Monday, August 17th, I believe. And I hope that you are starting a lovely week. We have been busy-ish here. I guess I don't have a ton to report. Last week went as usual. I started a few new samples, which you'll get to see. I had a nice, relaxing, crafty weekend. Didn't do anything too special. The only thing I did do is I took my hair into my own hands and gave myself a quarantine haircut. It is not perfect. I am not giving up my day job or going out for haircuts eventually, but given the infection rate here, I decided not to brave the salons and to just do it myself. I am super happy that it is shorter, not as much weight, and it just feels good. So interesting, a skill that I'm sure a lot of people learned through the ages, but not one that I have ever done myself. All I can think of is back to the time when my sister was about 4 or 5 and cut her hair, and my mother went ballistic. Because it was as children do, and, there was no rhyme or reason to it, and then we had to go to the hairdresser to get it straightened out. So, I couldn't resist thinking that, oh, Mom would be so disappointed in me for cutting my own hair on purpose. So that was kind of the big event of the weekend. Like I said, other than that, I have just been working on lots of crafty things. So I don't have too much in the area of chat. I will note that we are coming down to the last week or two of the holiday sock craft along in the Ravelry group, or you can also post your photos on Instagram and just tag me. That will end on August 31st. I have some special yarn as a giveaway prize for that. And then I will regroup and figure out what we will do going forward, because I know that Ravelry is not the best place to hold these things right now. So all of my patterns are available on Etsy. You are welcome to contact me on Instagram or elsewhere if you have any questions. And like I said, if you want to be entered into that drawing but are unable to post your photos in the Ravelry thread or are unable to use Ravelry right now, please just post them on Instagram and tag me, or you can send me an email and show me what you've been working on, and I will include you in the prize draw. So let's start with the podcast today. Today I am giving tea drops another try. I got a big box of tea drops from my boss, and they are loose leaf tea that dissolves into a cup. They come in little shapes. This one was a little heart, and this one is blueberry acai. It is white tea, blueberry, and acai, and it comes in these little individual packages. And I have mixed feelings, so you don't end up using tea bags for these because the tea itself dissolves, but of course they all come in individual packages, so there is that. And then the other thing is, because you are not using a tea bag, some of the sediment is left over from the tea. A lot of it dissolves because there's some sugar and some other flavors in there that they use to kind of hold the tea together. But of course there are tea leaves, so you allow the sediment to settle to the bottom of your cup, or I skimmed some of it off the top with my spoon. But so it's not the perfect format. I haven't decided exactly how I feel about it. However, it appears to be organic. The ingredients are organic raw sugar, organic white peony tea, organic wild blueberries, and organic acai berries. So it is marked USDA organic. Oh, and actually you can recycle the plastic patch. It says it can recycle if it's clean or dry, so I will drop that in my recycling. So mixed, but let's see what it tastes like. Ooh, that's got a nice flavor. I hope the sediment will continue to settle to the bottom, because I did get a little bit of tea leaves. Like I said, mixed on the format, but nice tasting teas. So I haven't decided if I could just put them in a tea bag and if that would work, because the sediment is pretty fine. So we'll just have to see. So let's talk about what I've been working on this week. The first thing is that I made one of my goals and I finished my socks. These are out of What the Flock, and the colorway is I Feel For You. It is a self-striping sock yarn, and I knit these for my sister, who has just an ever so slightly larger foot than mine, so they are a little bit longer than my normal socks. You can see there's a little bit of give at the toe. I knit the cuffs in 1x1 rib. I think I've discussed this. Normally I do 2x2. I prefer 2x2, but I thought on the first sock that I might do a pattern, so I did 1x1 rib so as to fit into the pattern. Didn't end up doing it. Decided that I just wanted to do my plain vanilla sock, so I knit the leg as far as I wanted. Then I did a slip stitch heel flap with a couple garter stitches at the edge. They make picking up the stitches for the gusset super easy, and I really like them. So I have adapted that into my vanilla sock, and then straight down the foot to a rounded toe. So I have size 6.5 feet. I think my sister is either a 7 or a 7.5, so I knit hers about half an inch to an inch longer than mine, and I hope she will enjoy these. That is the first Christmas gift done, and well, okay, if I've been working on stuff for the kids, but that is the first, like, of my parents, siblings, etc. gifts done. So it's early, but I am working on holiday gifts. So I'm really pleased to have those done. They knit up quickly. I love the yarn. And actually they only took a little more than half the skein. So I have enough left that I think I can do shorties for myself, which I'm super excited about because I absolutely love these colors. This is one of those skeins that's a finer fingering. It's 463 yards to 100 grams. So it's a little bit on the lighter side, but that extra yardage means that I'll get a pair of socks for myself out of them. So that is the one finished object for the week, and I am super thrilled with those. I went ahead and cast on for another pair of socks. I have not cast on my mother's socks yet, but I did go ahead and cast on another pair of socks for Roxy. And you've seen this yarn before. This is Mustache Yarns in the Fiesta colorway. It is to celebrate Fiesta in San Antonio. It is a great striping yarn. I knit socks. I need shorties for myself, and then I went ahead and knit socks for Miles in these, and then I sort of lost steam on this set of sock yarn. But the nice thing about Mustache Yarn is these were the perfectly matched skeins. So if you wound them up, you would basically match your stripes in them, and this is what I had left from one of the balls, and then I also have a corresponding from the second ball, and so basically these socks will match. What I decided to do, because I wasn't sure exactly how much was left in here, I suspect maybe I won't use all of this, but I did go ahead and start socks from the toe up for Roxy. You will remember that just a couple weeks ago I talked about how I really dislike toe-up socks and how I am top-down forever. I really am top-down forever because I think that's what fits my feet the best. However, I haven't determined exactly what fits Roxy's feet the best, and because this is a self-striping yarn, I think what I'm going to do is a Fish Lips Kiss Heel, and of course the Fish Lips Kiss Heel is a symmetrical short row shaped heel, and so it doesn't matter if I'm going up or down because it's the same either way. So I decided to start at the toe and go up through the cuff, mostly so that I could potentially use up all the yarn. I think it's probably going to be too much yarn without making these like super high knee socks. So I probably will just work until I have what I feel is a nice length sock. But I am pleased that I had this and I pulled this out, and so she's going to get a pair of these, and eventually she'll realize they are like her brother's, the ones that I gave her brother last Christmas, which he may or may not still fit into. So I'm going to work on these this week. My hope is that I will finish these this week, and then I will start working on 2 pairs for Miles. I did actually, because it was out, because I found it in the stash the other day and pulled it out. Miles, one of his pairs, I'm going to start with Comfort Sock and Wool, and this is Comfort Wool. It's German sock wool. It doesn't say, oh, this is the colorway Planetary, which I really liked when I saw someone else knit socks. It is a self-striping, and it is reds and grays and blues, and his favorite color is red, so I think he'll like those. And so my plan is to knit him a pair of socks out of this, and then knit myself a pair of socks with the rest of it. So I am kind of sock crazy at the moment. Part of that is because I am participating in 100 Days of Socks, which is a knit-along being run by Anne of Willy Wonka Fibers. You can find details about the sock knit-along in her Ravelry group, which again is Willy Wonka Fibers, or you can check it out on her Instagram. She is also Willy Wonka Fibers there. And you are welcome to join in that. It's open to everyone. There is you don't have to use her yarns or her patterns. You can knit anything. I don't know that there are really prizes. I think it's just a fun knit along. And so I challenged myself this fall to knit socks for the kids and for my family. To be honest, my sock drawer is an embarrassment of riches. It overfloweth, and I basically don't have any room for any more socks in there. So even though I say I'm going to knit myself some shorties, which I would really like to do, and some hand-spun socks, I don't know where I'm going to put them if I finish them. But we're going to think about that. I may also clean out my sock drawer and send some socks that are still in good shape onto Loving Homes for the fall. In terms of, we have a local shelter here for domestic violence, and they will, well, I don't know if they'll accept donations this fall. I'm going to cross my fingers that they will start to accept donations again. They are not currently because of coronavirus. But my hope is that they will accept donations again, because I have a big box of sweaters and woolens. Basically what I do is I knit a ton, in case you haven't noticed, and I cannot wear it all. And so each year or two I go through all of my drawers and I look at all of my lovely things and pick the ones that just aren't being worn enough, and I go ahead and take them and donate them to the shelter. So it goes to women and children, and I suppose sometimes men as well, although I think the focus is on women and children for the particular shelter that I donate to, who are fleeing situations of domestic violence. And so I just give them to them, and they can, it gets cold around here. We do see winter. It varies by the winter, but we do have freezing temperatures and snow and ice. So I just like to donate the ones that I am not getting use out of to someone who can use them. So, to go back to all my socks, I will be knitting lots of socks. I will probably be donating some socks, and I will be gifting some socks, because yes. So that's kind of my sock plans for the next few weeks. Like I said, I hope I can finish the socks for Roxy this week and then move on to do some socks, a couple pairs of socks for Miles. I also have a skein picked out for my mom, and this week I ordered a skein of sock yarn for my dad. My dad is actually allergic to wool. So he finds wool itchy. I have tried various kinds of wool, merinos, different sock yarns, different formulations, different breeds of sheep, and in general he just finds them itchy. So I knit him a pair of socks a couple years ago out of Barocco Comfort, which is a super, super, super cost-efficient yarn. It is 100% acrylic, and I believe I just ordered a ball of sock yarn for him for around $8. So if you have anyone who needs super easy care socks or is allergic to wool, I can recommend Barocco Comfort. They have a bunch of different solids and then a bunch of different self-striping, and I ordered my dad a self-striping colorway. So that will come shortly, and I will be able to start on his as well. That leaves my brother-in-law a little bit up in the air. I'm not sure he would wear socks if I knit them for him, so I'm in discussions with my sister about what that might look like. And then I don't know if I'm going to knit West socks or not. He does wear some of the ones that I have knit for him, but in general he prefers athletic socks, and he has like lots of socks for his working out and kind of wicking, and he's not a huge handspun socks fan. And he has wool slippers that he wears when he's in the house, so he doesn't even really need house socks. So I may look for something fun to knit him. Often I knit him a little toy or something for Christmas. So when I last left you, other than the socks, my needles were relatively empty. I guess I had a sweater in progress for myself. As I predicted, that has now been put aside for a couple other samples that I am working on. So the first of my samples came to me from a yarn dyer. And it is called Bellatrista Yarns, and Bellatrista produces yarns made out of unique fibers. And so they do quite a few vegan fibers that include, well, I guess milk protein is not a vegan fiber, but they also do things like banana and mint. And so they use a lot of interesting fibers, which a lot of them have antibacterial properties, and they make their yarns really soft and sleek. So this one is going to be a little hard for you to see, but they sent me a cone of, and I believe they're only selling these as skeins, but they sent me still on the cone, maybe just what was left over as they were making up skeins of some yarn that they dyed kind of a true black. And I know it's really kind of hard to see that, although I guess it's sort of showing up. This is milk yarn, so it is milk protein. It is, as I understand it, processed a little bit like bamboo, which I know is not entirely earth friendly, so there is a little bit of concern with that. However, it is a milk protein, and I believe it reuses some of the dairy and milk solids that do not get used for consumer use. So this is super thin, as you can see. Sorry, I have to, well, it is, I'm looking at the screen to try and get it and just trying to figure out. It is super thin. I would say this is a very light fingering weight. And so my original plans for the yarn did not work out because when I swatched, the gauge did not turn out like I needed it to for the pattern that I had picked. You might have heard me talk about last week how I was going to knit a Tanya by Caitlin Hunter. I ended up not being able to get good gauge for that, so I'm not doing that one. So I will show you what I selected instead. I will say, so I'm finding this yarn kind of slippery to knit with, and it's not as pleasurable as I might like. However, I knit and washed a swatch, and oh my goodness, it is the softest thing I've ever felt. It is soft and cool, and it's got just a luster to it, and it blooms really beautifully. And so I am like super, super, super excited about this top. I'm just not as excited to actually knit it, which is a bit of a problem. But I am super, super excited about the fabric that I am creating. So what I decided to do is I went and looked for a pattern that might work with this kind of yarn. And so I started looking at like linen and bamboo and other plant fibers to see if I could find something that would have a little bit more drape in it and something that might work better with my gauge. And I did look at gauge measurements on Ravelry as I was picking a pattern. So the pattern that I have selected to work on is called Cullum. And it is a pattern by Isabel Kramer. It was designed for Quince & Company, and it was originally knit in Sparrow, which is Quince & Company's linen. I'm sorry, I apparently can't hold the phone steady. Let's see if I can hold this a little bit steadier. It is a really simple tee. Yeah, okay, I'm going to put that down because otherwise I'm going to make you throw up. It is a really simple tee. It is all knit in one piece from the top down, which is, well, okay, it is seamless and knit in roughly one piece from the top down. I will explain how that's a little bit of a misnomer in a moment. And then the front has a really beautiful lace section, both at the top, kind of up at the collarbone area, and then a small lace section down at the hem. So the way that this pattern is knit is it's kind of knit in pieces, but it's knit modularly in pieces. So I have started on it and I have been working on it this weekend, and I have finished the top back. So the deal is this is not a raglan shaped pattern. So what you do first is you work kind of the, this is a paid for pattern, so I'm not going to get too into the details, but I'll just give you a quick idea in the way this is constructed. First, you knit sort of triangular pieces. I don't know that you can tell, but this does look a little bit triangular. You knit kind of the top piece just down to about here. You use some short row shaping to knit kind of a triangular piece for the shoulders. Then you knit the other triangular piece for the shoulder. And then you join them together with a cast on in the middle for the back neck. So then you work to what is basically the bottom of the armhole on the back. And then what I will do is you pick up from these shoulders and work down the front the same way. And then once you have worked both the back and the front, they are in one piece. By the time you spread it out, it would look like a rectangle with a hole in the middle where your head goes. And then you fold it in half and you pick up stitches just under the where the arms are finished, and you knit it in the round. I know that's really kind of an obnoxious way to describe it. By next week, I believe I will have the front finished and have started to knit in the round. This is the product of, I believe I cast on for this on either Thursday or Friday. Thursday, I think. And so this is the product of a few days knitting. Like I said, the one thing that I'm finding is that it is super, super slippery, and I just found a split stitch. Darn it. Maybe not. Maybe it's just... it is super, super slippery. I'm trying to figure out what happened in the middle there, but I think they just got pulled. I think it's fine. They are super, super slippery. So after knitting probably 10 or 15 rows, my hands are a little bit sore from kind of gripping it and holding it. I probably just need to relax. But I am so afraid that I'm going to drop stitches, and because it's so slippery, I'm afraid that it will be very hard to pick up. Yes, this top looks like it's going to be kind of sheer. I'm going to wait until I'm done to determine. My guess is I will probably have to wear a camisole underneath, but I still think it will be a pretty top, and it feels so amazing already, and this is not even washed and blocked. Just the fabric, it is so soft and silky, and I really feel like this is going to be a beautiful, cool top that would be wonderful to wear like for a summer evening out, or just on, I mean, it is black, but I just feel like it's going to be a great little tee. So I'm excited. This one, actually, the sample I can keep. So I'm knitting it in my size in the hopes that I will enjoy it. Basically, my project on this one is they sent me the yarn for free, and I knit the sample and take some nice photos, and then they're going to use it to promote the yarn. And this time I get to keep the sample. So a lot of times, most of what you see me working on are samples that I am paid to knit the sample and then return the sample and all of the products. So for this one, I will say, okay, I used to knit samples for free in exchange for keeping the products. Then I just started to run out of room in my stash, so I started to charge for my sample knitting services, and sometimes I will take on a project for a client as a favor, and just, do this, but in general, I do charge for my sample knitting. But if you are interested in getting into sample knitting, sometimes the best way to do that is to offer to, until you have established a portfolio of things that you have knit to show people who might be interested in your sample knitting skills, you can offer to knit a sample in exchange for the supplies. So this one I will probably be keeping, providing it fits me and gauge is correct and doesn't lie. And yeah, so it's not very much to look at, but this is the top back of my column. And by next week, I hope I will be joined in the round and will be able to share more with you. So that is that one. I also cast on for a second sample. And I need to pull the designer's name on this because despite looking it up a couple times, I just did not, it's not sticking to memory. Oh, I do know who it is. I take it back. The second pattern that I am knitting, and I will show it to you on my phone anyway, is called Chamomile Dreams. It is a shawl knit by Susanna Winter, who is Talvy Knits. And I don't know if you're familiar with her designs. I have tech edited some of her designs for some pattern collections, which is why I am somewhat familiar with it. Chamomile is a 2-color striped shawl with some lace in it. And so this is what it looks like. And the original was done in a gray with kind of an orange, and it is available in 2 sizes, one a slightly smaller one which has 3 stripes at the end, and a slightly larger one which has 5 stripes at the end. Technically, I do not have enough yardage to do the large. However, I think the difference is how many stripes you do. So if I have enough yardage, I might end up doing 4 stripes because I have enough yardage somewhere in there. So we'll just have to see. But this is a 2-color shawl. And in my case, what we did is we swapped sort of the light and dark. In that shawl, you saw the gray kind of being the main body of the shawl and the orange being the lace and trim parts. And in this case, I am using another of Zen Yarn Garden's Nightshade yarns. This is their newest yarn. It is a fingering weight yarn, 100% superwash merino, and one of the plies is black. It's a 3-ply yarn, and one of the plies is black and does not take the dye like the rest of the yarn. So you end up with this fabulous barber pole marled yarn that kind of just gives a more mixed color in there. And this one has reds and oranges and yellows and is called Sunset. So I have knit the very first part of the shawl, which is just some stockinette stitch and a little bit of an I-cord edging. And then I went through the first lace section on the front end. Up at the top, the lace sections are done in the main color with the contrast color, which in this case is just, again, Zen Yarn Garden's super fine merino. It's basically the same base but without the black, and it's in the natural colorway. So I am actually using the other half of the skein than I used for the last 2-color shawl, and so I am working this up for them. I have another stockinette section, then another main lace section, and then it will go into the predominantly the white color with just the dark color there. And this is kind of, it's interesting because it's doing a little bit of pooling and a little bit of flashing, and then up close it just looks very marled. So I have to say these are not 100% my colors. It does look like there's also some blacky purple in there if you look right here. These are not 100% my colors, but I do think it's super interesting the way it is working up, and they have a ton of different colors they have dyed several of their sort of regular colors on this new base. And I saw that they were promoting them on Instagram the other day. So if you're looking to try something kind of fun with this black thread with the black ply in there and the marl, this will be another one of the samples. So, and it looks a little, it's interesting because I can't always see what it looks like. My living room is not terribly well lit, and most of the knitting that I do is in the evenings, and so of course it also gets dark. And so it's really interesting because now that I'm looking at this up close, there is a lot more purple in it. What I thought was actually just black also has purple. So there's purple in here too. So yeah, so that is the other sample that I'm working on, and this week I plan to just continue to work on both samples. I don't know that I will get back to my sweater. I will say I was working on the Elfie for myself, and I actually managed to just divide for the sleeves. I haven't, now I would just be working the body. And I haven't gotten any further than that. I do need to slip it on waist yarn to try it on to make sure my gauge was a little bit off, and so I was experimenting with what size I was knitting. I do need to kind of try it on to make sure it works, but that I probably will not pick back up until these 2 samples are done. So like I said, I'll work on these 2 samples and Roxy's socks. Hope to finish Roxy's socks. Probably will not finish either of these samples this week, so you'll see them both again next week, but hopefully by the following week we'll have some of that taken care of. So that brings me to spinning. I finally finished my Hello Yarn spin, and I say finally finished because this was a spin that I started towards the end of Tour de Fleece. It was like my last day or 2, and then I immediately dropped it after Tour de Fleece was over. So normally after Tour de Fleece and I've spun for 3 weeks straight, I usually take a little bit of a break from my wheel. Even if I have a spin in progress, I usually take, several days off and kind of catch up on some knitting. The other thing was that I had some spinning to do for for knitting chickens, and so my my commission spinning obviously took precedence over spinning that I'm just doing for myself. So I finally went back to and finished Midsummer, and I am pleased to report that I'm really, really happy with the yarn. It came out really pretty. This was a club from Hello Yarn. I believe it was the July club, so it sent at the end of July. No, it was the June club, so it sent at the beginning of July, and it was pinks and reds and rusts, and then an icy blue, and it was on the Corriedale base, which I love for socks. I find Corriedale is sturdier. It's not super soft, but it is a very sturdy yarn without being itchy, and so Corriedale is kind of my favorite go-to for, especially for my hand-spun socks, because it holds up really, really well. Usually what happens is I knit the socks, and then they felt ever so slightly, and then they are super warm wool socks, and I love, love, love wearing them in the fall and winter on cold days. So I think I'm going to keep this one for myself and work on some socks in it. Maybe I'll even get to work on it during 100 days of socks. We'll have to see. I have lofty goals to knit everyone's socks, so who knows. And I actually have 2 or 3 skeins of handspun Corriedale that I have done in the last year or two that I would love to knit socks for myself out of, but have not yet. So this still needs a bath. It's probably 270 to 300 yards, which means I'm looking at a sport to DK weight. I will probably just divide it into 2 and start knitting, and we'll see what I come up with. I should be able to get plenty out of it. Honestly, my feet are a size 6.5, so they're pretty small, and usually I can get a pair of socks out of 150 to 200 yards of sock weight yarn, so I should be fine with these. So that is the skein that I have finished, and I have picked up a new bump of fiber. This will be ready to go into the shop once I'm done with it. This is a new to me fiber blend. It is 60% Rambouillet, 20% rose, and 20% pearl, and I did read up on both fibers. Rose is constructed very much like bamboo. It is used from the waste from rose bushes, and so that is then processed and turned into fiber, and it is lustrous, and they said also because it is a plant fiber, it is antibacterial. The second fiber in here is pearl fiber, and I wondered exactly what that was, and it turns out that it is like bamboo fiber as well, although what they do is they crush up pearl dust, as I understand it, and combine it into the fibers, and they crush it up so small that it is put together in some kind of chemical process such that the pearl molecules bind to the fiber molecules, and they will not release from them. So it gives it kind of a lustrous, shiny appearance, and adds strength. So this is what I am working on. It is called Copper Rose, and like I said, it is rose and pearl fiber, as well as Rambouillet, which I think is going to be interesting because Rambouillet has a really tight crimp and will puff up quite a bit. And then the pearl and rose fiber will give it some luster and shine. So I am about, I'd say about a third of the way in. This is 2 ounces here. This is the second half of the bump, but I'm about 2/3 of the way through the first 2 ounces. So a third of the way in, roughly, and I will be working on spinning this one. This is from Busy Bee Fibers, who I talked about last week, and someone left a comment, one of you left a comment about how wonderful she is and how wonderful her fibers are, and so far I have to say this is impeccably blended. There aren't any neps. It's just beautiful, beautiful fiber to work with. So I expect this one will be slightly pastel-y just because of the large preponderance of white in there, but it's going to be beautiful, and I will be putting it up in the shop, and hopefully one of you will enjoy it. So that is what I'm working on in spinning. Like I said, just a couple weeks left for the holiday sock craft along in the group, so be sure to finish up your socks and get your entries in there. I do not know what our next along will be, and I may take a break for a couple months until November and December, when that will be our holiday craft along, where basically you just have to make something for somebody else. It does not have to be a holiday gift, but it just has to be something for someone who is not you. And by then, hopefully, I will have figured out where the best place to hold a craft along is so that we can gather together and chat, because unfortunately, I just don't see lots of changes coming to Ravelry very soon. And that is no insider knowledge. That is just based on what I have seen from them in the past several weeks, couple months. So I hope that you are able to find solace and joy in your tiny little corner of your world. I hope you are staying healthy and well and inspired by crafting. I am starting to feel the siren call of fall and knit all the things. There are new collections dropping. Interweave and other places have new patterns out, and I'm just slowly starting to get excited for all the things that I can do this fall. Also, I just noticed today Kim Dye's Yarn released her Community Matters colorways for September, so check them out and get your orders in because they are beautiful. One is a dark purple with some orange speckles in it, and then the other is kind of a full-on speckled yarn. It is kind of a goldish and a white and gold, and then it has all kinds of fall speckle colors. Right now I'm restraining myself, but I suspect I'm going to be placing an order for a couple skeins because I am just having a lot of fun knitting tees and tops right now in fingering weight yarn. This actually is a very old one. In case you ask, this is, I have to think about this. This is the Mary Jane top. It was published in the Twist Collective years and years and years ago, and Twist Collective is no longer. I do not know if the pattern owner now sells it on her own. I'm a bad podcaster for not looking that up, but it is Mary Jane, and I knit it basically per pattern. I used plucky yarn from way back in the day. I knit this probably 2011, 2012. I mean, it's been a long time since I knit this, and I really, really love it. I used a colorway from the Plucky Club way back in the day when she was doing sock yarn for Fiber Club. It was an 80/20, I think, merino nylon in the colorway Pensive, so I called the project Pensive Mary Jane, and I have gotten lots of wear out of it over the years. I do think it is a really flattering sweater. It is not knit with a lot of shaping, but it has got these what they call snakeskin sections where you're, let me see if I can, here, I'll stand up. Oof, I'll be awful close to the camera. But it has got these snakeskin sections where you can see it's a slip stitch pattern. And what that does is it makes the fabric just a little tighter here at the bust. And then it also adds some nice shaping throughout the waist and hem without making it too tight or too clingy. So I hope that was a flattering shot. I'll have to look because my camera's real close so I can get a good close-up shot. Anyway, I hope that you are having a lovely week, and I wish many wonderful things for you. And until I see you next, I will say happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.